All right, in today's live video, I want to talk a little bit about podcasts and some of the different podcasts that I'm doing, specifically some of them that have been released the last few weeks. So I haven't done one of these on this topic for a little while. So let me, in case you're not really familiar with it, I've actually done a lot of different podcasts. In fact, uh, I'll tell you a little bit about some of them, but in total, I probably recorded almost 1,000 episodes, different podcast episodes. So you may be aware of that. You may not be aware of it. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing the video today. So let me go through and talk about some of them that are currently running, some ones that we currently have going, so that you can have an idea if it's of interest for you to hear them. You can access all of the podcasts either on your favorite podcast player or through my YouTube channel. Everything is out on my YouTube channel where you can actually watch the video if you'd like to have more than just the audio. So, excuse me, I've been podcasting now for over 5 years, probably 6 years, close to 6 years, something like that. And let me just tell you a little bit about what the podcasts are or what the different videos are that I do and release each week. So that way, if any of, which ones interest you, you'll know, and you can go watch them. So I've been doing Jamming with Jason Mefford for a long time, and it's kind of morphed over time and is pretty much me interviewing people and talking in solo episodes about things that interest me. And if you know me, you know that music and movies interest me. And so we use music, songs, different movies and stories and pop culture to actually talk about some of the ways that you can change your life, that you can improve things around you, that you can change your world around you as well. How we can give up some of the limiting beliefs that we have and really just kind of get back to having more of a peaceful, easy feeling. Because I know a lot of people in the world are stressed out. Understandably so, with a lot of the things that are going on. And so in there, again, it's me just kind of sharing my experiences, sharing my insights into some of the things that are affecting me, some of the experiences that I've had, and just sharing that information with you. So that's Jamming with Jason, and we drop those episodes every Tuesday. And so today happens to be a Tuesday as well. And so a new episode dropped today, but I'm not going to talk about that one. You can go find that one on your own. But I will share with you, I put in the description some links back to some of the recent podcast episodes. So on Jamming with Jason, we had Major Tom's Ashes is one of the episodes that was recently dropped out there, and thus the ashes in the title of this video. So I've been on a David Bowie kick, and so in this episode we talk a little bit about the song Space Oddity, and also kind of a follow-up song to that called Ashes to Ashes. And so, again, if you're familiar with Space Oddity, it's about a character named Major Tom and how he ends up, going out into space, and presumably from the lyrics, ending up just floating off into space in isolation by himself. And there's a lot of reasons for, why David wrote that song, what it means. But we all have feelings of isolation, right? And so I think that's one of the reasons why that song resonates with us. It also tries to put more of a human face on some of the technology and especially some of the space program. Because, Bowie watched 2001: A Space Odyssey. And if you've ever watched that show, it's a great show, but it's pretty freaky in some ways. So he was trying to bring some humanity back by doing that song, but also expresses a feeling that many of us have of isolation. Ashes to Ashes, as a follow-up song, kind of says, hey, you remember that guy, Major Tom? Well, here's what happened to him. And so in Ashes to Ashes, it talks a little bit about Major Tom and some of the things around assuming what might have happened to him. And not to give everything away, you can go listen to the episode. But in the chorus, it says, ashes to ashes, funk to funky, we know Major Tom's a junkie. And there's reasons why he put those lyrics in there that I talk a little bit more about and how we can apply that to our life. Because again, on Jamming with Jason, that's really what we're trying to do is, apply these things to our lives. Okay. So that's the first episode. That's the first podcast. Another one from Jamming with Jason that was recent is called Changes, because it goes back again to the David Bowie song Changes, and how that is something. Change is something we all have to deal with, something that we all have to live with, something that we all have to work through. And so that episode is really kind of talking about some of the ways that we can change, how we can push through change. Some lessons that we learned from that song as well. Okay, so that's the first episode, Jamming with Jason, that I've been doing about the longest. We're up to almost 400 episodes on that particular podcast. So, and again, this is a live video. So if you're here with me, if you want to communicate a little bit, put something in the comments and it should come through so I can see that you're here. If you have any questions or want to talk about anything while I'm on live here for a few minutes. Okay, the next podcast is called Walking a Spiritual Path. And so in this podcast, I co-host that with Brad Miller. Brad is a lawyer by training. I am a CPA by training. And so we have very logical kinds of careers, but both of us are walking on a spiritual path. And we realize that many people who are in these kinds of professions or just in general, sometimes we keep it to ourselves. We don't let other people know that we're spiritual. We don't really want to talk about it because we don't want other people to judge us. We don't want people to think less of us, if you will, because again, in our professions, a lot of times, people think you're crazy if you believe in paranormal or other types of things that you can't just see, taste, touch, with your five senses. And because we know that we're not just five sensory people anyway. In fact, that's a fallacy. We have more than five senses. But most people believe we only have five. But so Brad and I kind of talk about our path and things that we have learned. Because one of the things is if you are, going down that path or you're curious about those things, typically you have questions, right? Because certain things start happening to you, you start having certain experiences. And some of the time you think, oh my gosh, am I crazy? Am I losing my mind? Is anybody else experiencing these kinds of things? And so we talk about some of those things that we're doing, some of the things that we have experienced, some of the things that we know others that we know are experiencing as well. And so, in that podcast, we kind of share some of our experiences and, like I said, the lessons that we learned. And so I'll give you, this is just an example of, where a lot of times people may think, oh, that was a coincidence. Well, things aren't coincidences. Usually things are synchronicities instead of coincidences. And so what do I mean by that? Well, there is a collective consciousness throughout the universes. And last night I had an example of this, okay? I actually did a live video on this a few weeks ago. One of my favorite poems is called The Cremation of Sam McGee. It's one that my mother used to read to me when I was a little kid. And so yesterday evening, I was reciting part of that poem back to myself. And it starts off and it says, "The northern lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night on the barge of Lake LaBarge where I cremated Sam McGee." And so I kind of was reciting that to myself. And it says, right at the beginning, the northern lights. And so if you know what the northern lights are, right, they're usually these very colorful spectrum, not in a rainbow kind of way, but it's the electromagnetic field around the Earth that usually far up in the northern hemisphere, you can actually see these at night. So in places like Alaska, northern Canada, Finland, Sweden, some of these places, you can actually see the northern lights. So as I said, last night I was reciting that to myself, and then I pick up my phone, I open my phone, and literally my friend that lives in northern Michigan had just taken pictures of the northern lights that she saw right out the back of her house, and just amazing pictures. So is that a coincidence? No, right? Both of us were tuned into the northern lights. I couldn't see them from where I live, but I was thinking about them. And then my friend posts a picture or provides me access to a picture that she just took that night of the northern lights. So a lot of people may say coincidence. It's not coincidence. It's synchronicity based on the collective consciousness of the world and us being tapped in. And again, these are some of the things that you start to learn about, think about when you're on a spiritual path. And so, like I said, a lot of us feel like, we don't have anybody to just talk to. Well, you can come listen to Brad and me talk about it. We're also starting a thing called the Spiritual Campfire for people that want to actually join a group and talk interactively. But you can always go out and listen to our episodes. We're up to about 85 of them or something like that right now. And some of the episodes that were recent on walking a spiritual path is taking a path with heart. So if you're familiar with the Carlos Castaneda books, one thing that Don Juan Matus talks about in those books is taking a path with heart. And so we delve into that a little bit about what that means for each of us, because it means many different things to many different people. But we kind of share what that is for us and kind of fill in the blanks a little bit from our own life. Another one that we just did is called Monkey Wrench. And Monkey Wrench, again, it's a term in English, right, for kind of throwing a wrench in things, making it more difficult for people. But it was interesting at the beginning because as we do each of these episodes, Brad and I we don't know what we're going to talk about. Sometimes we'll have a topic, sometimes, some things that we've thought about that we want to talk about, and we just hit record and start talking. And so it's just whatever is coming through us, right? Whatever we're receiving from the universe, we're talking about in these podcasts. And sometimes things come up that we have no idea that they were going to come up. And so what happened for the Monkey Wrench episode was, we were sitting there, or actually it was before we had started. Brad had gone out on a walk, if I remember right. We talk about it in the episode, so you get the full thing there if I don't quite remember. But he's out walking, before we do our podcast recording, and he's thinking to himself, okay, what is it that we need to talk about today? And the word wrench comes into his head, and he's like, wrench, that's interesting. What are we supposed to talk about with wrench? And all of a sudden he hears monkey wrench. He's like, monkey wrench. Again, I'm not quite sure what we're supposed to talk about. Monkey wrench. And then monkey wrench, Foo Fighters. Well, the Foo Fighters, musical group, Dave Grohl and many others, have a song called Monkey Wrench. And so in that episode, we did what I kind of do, which is I wake up with songs in my head and I try to figure out what the universe is trying to tell me from that song. And so we did that in that episode. We listened to the song before we hit record, and then we talked about what messages were coming through us in that song and what it meant to us and maybe some spiritual lessons that we can learn. So that's Monkey Wrench. Another one that's recent that's in the description there is called Energy Bubbles. Because, we all are energy, we have energy, we are energy. And in fact, there is kind of an energetic bubble that goes around all of our bodies. And so again, that's probably why, when people feel like they're too close to you, right? You might sense that. You might not see the energy bubble, but you can kind of sense when people are encroaching into your energy physically. And so in this episode, we go through and we talk a little bit about our energy bubbles, how we can protect them, some things to think about as we're interacting with other people, so that we can be safe, if you will. So again, those are some episodes that are out there for walking a spiritual path. And again, those are all things that you can find out on my YouTube channel. I've got playlists for each of the podcasts, and they're all out there. Plus, you can get them and listen to any of them on whatever podcast player you want to listen to. Apple, Google kind of shut theirs down, but Amazon even, and Stitcher and Spotify and all of them, you can find both of those episodes out there. Now, some other things that I'm doing as well is, for those of you that may be in internal audit, I'm starting to do weekly audit discussion videos again, doing some of these as live videos where I'm talking about topics related to internal audit and specifically internal audit leadership. And so you can find those again. They pop up on social media, but you can also find them all out on my YouTube channel. Because I know sometimes it's easy to lose things. So every time I go live, and you can see that I'm live because I got my banner up there. It says Jason Mefford Live. In the title, it usually says Jason Mefford Live. If you see that coming through on Facebook or LinkedIn, you can also know that it's out on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. So if you ever lose it, you can find it on my YouTube channel because it doesn't go away there. It kind of disappears in your feed or disappears in some of the posts that I make. So those are some of the things that are out there. I did do a podcast called Fire and Earth with Kathy Groover. We did about 300 episodes of those. Again, a co-hosted podcast where her and I would talk about different topics. And that one kind of has run its course. We've done 300 episodes, and so I've moved on now because I'm doing some other things, and that was just one of the things that needed to go. Ironically, our last episode was knowing when to persevere and when to change direction, and it was time for me to change direction at that point. So, and again, all of those Fire and Earth episodes as well are out on my YouTube channel. So, anyway, that's what I got for you for today. Again, the current podcasts that I have that are out there is Jamming with Jason. Those drop on Tuesdays. Walking a Spiritual Path drops on Saturday. So that way you have some good weekend entertainment. And again, usually they drop very early in the morning on those days. So by the time you wake up, you should be able to access them any of those places. And then again, I'm doing audit discussions. And so again, if you want to know more, if you want to stay in touch, I've got links, different places, pretty much in all of the show notes. There's a link for signing up for my VIP newsletter. So I send out weekly emails with kind of a recap of what's going on. If you're on LinkedIn, I have a newsletter on LinkedIn called Being Authentically You. And so if you want to sign up for that, I usually also send out kind of a recap of the different podcasts on that newsletter that goes out once a week as well on LinkedIn. So with that, I'm going to wrap up for the day and get back to what I got to do. And again, go out, check out the episodes. If you like what you're seeing or hearing, please share with other people. Because again, the whole purpose and intention is to share with you. These are free resources. So take advantage of them. Don't take advantage of them. It's up to you. But just wanted to let you know that they are available. And I'll probably pop on here and do more live videos about the podcast going forward as well. So stay tuned for those as well. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next live video.